Hello, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, check my channel for other videos about the world update. So the last update about Twist of Fate. Pragya slaps Tanu for planning with Gaurav to kill Abhi, and Pragya quickly goes to where Abhi went to meet Gaurav in order to save Abhi. Let's continue. Gaurav tells Mahesh that it will not be good to go back to the room now. He says nobody will go to the room. Mahesh says that the phone has proof against you. Gaurav says we'll first get rid of Abhi and then we'll think of the phone. Mahesh asks, what do you mean? Gaurav says I plan to kill Abhi without hurting him. Mahesh says you would have suffocated him to death. Gaurav says I wanted the death to be natural and says I had confessed to Tanu that I will kill Abhi. He says Tanu is not loyal to anyone. He says he thought to leave Abhi in the cold storage room so that his death looks natural. Gaurav says people will think that he went there by mistake and died. Mahesh says your idea is good. Gaurav tells unconscious Abhi that nobody will come here as there is engagement today in the hotel. He says you had enough dose of chloroform and you will die soon. Gaurav comes out of the cold storage room and tells Mahesh that the cold storage is an underground basement and nobody will come here. Mahesh asks him to take revenge from Pragya too because she has insulted you too. Gaurav thinks of Pragya's words. He says when you can kill Abhi, then why can't you kill Pragya? Mahesh says when you can make foolproof plan of killing Abhi, then why can't you kill Pragya? He says if you get hang punishment, then also it will not be a regret to kill both of them. He asks him to kill both of them. Sushma talks to someone and says she plans surprise birthday for Pragya's anniversary. Sushma gets Gaurav's call and picks it. She asks, how dare you to call me? Gaurav says I called for someone's betterment and says unconscious people cannot say, and that is why I called you to inform you. Sushma asks who is unconscious. Gaurav says your son-in-law would die in 10 to 15 minutes and he asks her not to waste time by calling the hotel staff and all. Gaurav says I can slit his throat and give them death in seconds. He says if Pragya comes here in 10 minutes, then I will spare Abhi, else I will kill him. Sushma asks where is Abhi? Gaurav says he is in the cold storage room of the hotel Red Zone Bright. He says if you call someone, then nobody will be saved. Sushma asks, do you think I will get scared? Gaurav says if you are scared, then Abhi's breath will go on, else he will die. Sushma thinks how dare he and calls the police station. The constable picks the call. Sushma recalls Gaurav's threat that he will cut his throat and she calls Pragya, but her phone is not reachable. Pragya thinks where do they take Abhi and thinks to call Gaurav, but there is no network there. Sushma calls Pragya and finds the number unreachable. Pragya prays to God to show her some way and thinks that where did he go to? Sushma comes out of the office and sits in her car. She drives off and calls Shagun. Shagun says I don't know what is happening at home. Sushma asks her to give the call to Pragya. Shagun says Pragya is not at home. She says Abisa came and left. She says then Pragya came and left and says Aliya and Tanu left with their stuff. Taiji and Mitali went to Punjab in a hurry. Sushma asks her to inform her when she returns home. Pragya comes to the room number 510. The hotel staff says nobody is here. Gaurav tells Mahesh that in some time, Abhi will die just as his blood freezes. He says people will come to take his dead body. Mahesh says let Pragya come here. It will be a real revenge. Sushma messages Pragya and thinks that it will deliver when the network comes on. Mahesh says your idea was not bad to bring Abhi here in the cold storage room. Gaurav says the enjoyment will be doubled when Pragya comes here and says the game and the rules are mine, so the result will be mine too. Mahesh asks what is your thought about her. Gaurav asks him to enjoy the twists and turns. Pragya asks the waiter about the terrace. The waiter says that there is no terrace, just 5 floors in this hotel. He tells her about the cold storage room in the basement. Pragya is going there. Sushma calls her and says thank God, your call is connected. She asks her to go to the Red Zone Hotel cold storage room and says Abhi is there. Pragya says she is in the hotel and she is going to the cold storage room. Sushma asks her to listen. Pragya ends the call. Sushma's car is stopped by the traffic police. Gaurav comes out to call. Pragya is going from there. Siddharth thinks to call Prachi and thinks that she will be happy. He asks Gaurav if the network is coming. Gaurav says that side. Siddharth sees Pragya and thinks that she is Prachi's mom. He goes to the other side to talk and he thinks that there is no network here too. Gaurav calls his goons and asks if they get consciousness. Siddharth hears Gaurav telling his goons that he has planned to kill both Abhishek Mehra and his wife Pragya. He says Abhi can be saved by Pragya. If she saves him, then it is okay. He says if Pragya shows any smartness, then I will kill both of them. Siddharth runs from there hearing him. Gaurav asks if he is mad and asks the goons to come out carefully. He thinks that if Pragya doesn't care for Abhi, he thinks that she did not come yet. He comes to the cold storage room and finds his dad missing from there. He calls Pragya and asks if she is there and asks her to come out. Gaurav finds Abhi missing from his place. He finds Mahesh unconscious and runs to him. He checks his pulse. Pragya recalls Mahesh threatening her with a knife, and that was why Pragya hit him on his head with something. Gaurav says thank God, seeing his dad fine. Pragya is standing with the unconscious Abhi on the wheelchair. Gaurav asks Pragya to come out. Siddharth calls Prachi and says I have seen with my eyes. Prachi says I will come there and says she will call the police. Siddharth says that the guy is crazy. Prachi says that we cannot leave that person and says that she is coming there. Ria hears them and thinks that Prachi went to meet Siddharth for her extramarital affair. She left as if someone is in danger. Gaurav comes near Pragya. Pragya comes in front of him and shows him knife. She then attacks him with a plate. Gaurav falls down and holds his head. Pragya looks at the stairs sign and she begins to take Abhi away from there. Gaurav gets up and shoots in the air. He comes to her and says you thought yourself as an expert and asks her to apologize to him, else. Pragya says what will you do and says you will do what you were doing and says such cheap person like you will not get forgiveness. Pragya says Abhi came to punish you, but now nobody can stop me from punishing you. Gaurav says you are on gunpoint and asks her to apologize and says may I leave you? Pragya asks him to surrender to the police and says maybe I can forgive you. Abhi gains consciousness and makes Gaurav's gun falls down. He beats him. Mahesh gets up and keeps knife on Pragya's neck. Abhi says leave her. Mahesh says leave my son too, else I will slit her throat. He says my son likes dialogues, but I want result on the spot. He says if you want your wife to be alive, then go to the cold storage room and lock yourself there. Abhi says I will go inside. Pragya says don't go inside. Gaurav locks the door as Abhi goes inside. Abhi asks him not to harm Pragya. Pragya frees herself and shows the knife to Gaurav and Mahesh. Gaurav hits Pragya on her head and locks her too inside the cold storage room. Abhi owes Pragya and asks Gaurav to let Pragya go. Mahesh and Gaurav smile and leave from there. Prachi is on the way. The driver says that the road is blocked. Prachi gets down and asks the constable to let her go. The constable asks her to leave. Prachi says it is a matter of someone's life and death. The constable says everyone wants to say the same dialogue and says it seems as if I have to call the lady constable. Prachi runs and tries to move the barricade. Abhi asks Pragya to open her eyes and says if you faint, then your body temperature will fall down. He says why do you have to come to save me? Abhi shouted for help. He asks her to open her eyes and says you have lost the dart game and you shall obey me for 24 hours. He knocks on the door and says I will not forgive you as you hug the troubles always before it reaches you. He knocks on the door and asks for help again. He cries asking for help and says save my Pragya. Pragya gets up and hugs him. She asks if someone scolds someone when someone else's is unconscious. Abhi looks at her and hugs her. A song plays in the background. Pragya says let me hug you. Abhi says I will hug you always. Pragya says always. Abhi says I want your permission. Pragya says did you know when you hugged me the last time? Abhi says yes. Pragya says in the court. He says after the court too, in the dreams. Pragya says you are a businessman of talks. She says you are a good person and you does good business of art. Abhi kisses on her forehead and says you have to pay for the price for the business which I do. He says I have snatched your peace and happiness. He says I came to know why you stay away from me since 2 years and I know why you hate me and when you met me, why did you push me? Abhi says I came to know everything and you shall know now. He says I did not fail your car brakes and I did not try to kill you. He says they used my name so that even if you are saved, then you will think me wrong. He says he heard Alia and Thanos speaking to Gaurav and confessing everything. Pragya says how can I believe that you can kill me? She recalls hearing his voice saying the same thing and she says that it is my fault to believe. Abhi says your death news came but I lost the life. He says I don't want to hear anything now and he asks her not to go far from him. He says he will stay here. Pragya says yeah and asks him to do something so that they can come out. He says we will hug each other and jokes. He asks if she is remembering something. Pragya recalls getting locked in the cold storage room while Abhi was saving her and he says we will leave from here. Pragya asks him to think good for good result They knock on the door. Gaurav gives money to the waiter and asks him to call him if the police comes. The waiter says okay. Maya says if anyone comes to know about our plan. Gaurav says he has plan B and plan C ready. Mahesh feels proud of him. Prachi is running on the road to reach there. A guy holds her and asks her to walk carefully. Abhi and Pragya knocks on the door. Pragya says nobody will come here. Abhi says we are united to live and not to die. Pragya asks him to come and try to clean his injury with a sari palu. Abhi says it is a small injury. Let me knock on the door. She says if someone comes, then we will shout. Abhi takes out his jacket and asks her to wear it. Pragya asks him to wear it. Abhi says you have given your everything to Gaurav. Pragya says it was not mine, but I got what is mine. Abhi says if you say this without shaking up, then it is good. They sit together. Abhi rubs her hand. Prachi reaches the hotel and searches for Siddharth. Abhi and Pragya reminisces on their moment together. Abhi asks Pragya to keep her eyes open and says someone will come to save us. Pragya says you are with me. Nothing will happen to me. He rubs her hand and hugs her. Prachi comes to the cold storage room and shouted mother and father. She tries to open the door. Siddharth brings the stretcher there and opens the door. Prachi runs inside and shouted mom and dad. She calls the ward boy to come inside and help. They take Abhi and Pragya on the stretcher. Gaurav talks to the waiter. The waiter says that the hospital staff came and they took them from the cold storage room. Gaurav asks, why didn't you call me? The waiter says the police haven't come yet. Gaurav says, will I give you instructions for everything? He asks, why didn't you call me? The waiter says we were trained to give what is asked. Gaurav asks him to end the call and tells Mahesh that now plan B. He calls his goon and tells them that Abhishek Mehra and his wife are admitted to the hospital. Gaurav asks the goon to kill both Abhi and Pragya in the hospital and send him photos. The goon says okay, work will be done. Prachi and Siddharth rush Abhi and Pragya to the hospital. Prachi asks the doctor if her father will be fine. She then rushes to Pragya. The doctor treats both Pragya and Abhi in a separate rooms. A song plays in the background. The doctor comes out and says that Pragya is fine and they are shifting her to the ward. Prachi asks, what about my father? The doctor says his case is quite complicated and he asks her to wait until the other doctor comes. Abhi's doctor comes there and says he is out of danger and he asks the nurse to shift him to the ward. The doctor asks them to come to the ward as they will be shifting them in the same ward. Prachi goes to sign the form. She walks past the goon who is wearing Pion's uniform. The goon sees Abhi and Pragya being shifted to the ward. The nurse asks who is he. The goon says that he is Rakesh and he came to give the file. Prachi fills the form and tells the receptionist about her parent enemy trying to kill them. Pion comes there and says that his uniform is stolen. Prachi realizes that she heard the guy talking that he is Rakesh. She runs from there. The goon takes off the oxygen support system and leaves from the ward. Abhi and Pragya struggled for breath. Prachi asks someone to hold the goon and says he wants to kill my parent. Siddharth holds the goon. Prachi comes to the ward and gets shocked seeing through the window pane. Thank you for watching my videos. Please don't forget to like it, share it, and please subscribe to this channel for more updates. Thank you.